as the market starts to go into more of a recession, it's going to be easy to buy, but more difficult to sell as people are going to be less likely to want to purchase.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, a show where we interview high voltage entrepreneurs growing and scaling through e-commerce, real estate, and other wealth without Wall Street ventures, showing you the path to making your first or next million. Hey folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. My name is Neil Twa. If you haven't checked out, liked, subscribed, or seen what we're doing, please go out right now to Apple, Google, Spotify, or anywhere else on YouTube. Check out what we're doing at voltagedm.com and learn about the wonderful kind of guests that we have and the honor I have with sharing the platform with some amazing people like the person I'm going to talk about today, who I know that if you're interested in getting rich off of dirt, then this is the guy that you want to talk to. So I'm going to welcome, he's even wrote the book on how to get rich off dirt. So we're going to talk about that today, probably a few other fun things. Mark, thanks for joining me today, man.
Neil Twa, it's a pleasure, brother.
Welcome.
You.
I think you just had fun saying my name, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I love it.
People get a kick out of it. All right, so we're talking about dirt, not just dirt farming, not going for the gold, right? But liquid dirt gold, if you will. Tell me what that means to somebody who's wanting to know, how do I get rich with dirt?
Yeah, so basically it's just a business model where we take an asset like raw land and we make it cash flow like a rental home. And so, Neil, probably the easiest thing to do is just walk you step by step through the model.
All right, break it down for me.
My first question would be, where do you live?
I live in Missouri, land of
All
the
right.
dirt.
Yeah, so the Shelby State. I grew up in St. Louis.
Oh, did you? I didn't know that. Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I'm all about that Provel cheese. Anyways.
Yeah. We're rock farmers out here, though.
That's cool, though. Okay, so you're in Missouri. I'm going to assume that you own 5 acres of raw land where I live in Arizona, and you owe $200 in back taxes. So essentially, you're advertising two really important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land because you're in Missouri, the property's in Arizona. And number two, you're distressed financially in some weird way because we don't pay for things like our property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Then we don't really value them in the same way.
Yeah.
And as a result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Neil, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax deed or a tax lien investor. So all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. Okay. Let's say it's $10,000. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000. And then I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to get me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I don't want to be like the housing guys and send you a blanket offer saying, I'm interested in buying your land.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to send you an actual offer of $2,500 for your parcel. Now you accept it. Why? Because for you, $2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people will accept your quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to make sure that back taxes are only $200. I have to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title. There's no liens or encumbrances. Mm-hmm. And so this whole property checklist can be outsourced to, like I have a team in Jamaica. So it costs about $11. And while they're doing this due diligence, they're getting the plat maps and the aerial maps and satellite maps. And I'm creating my marketing package at the same time I'm doing my due diligence for the next person that's going to buy it. Now, if we assume that everything checks out, I'm going to then write you a check for $2,500 or maybe $2,300 and pay the back taxes of $200 and own it free and clear. And then, Neil, I'm going to sell it 30 days or less and make it cash flow. So I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is?
You.
No. I already own your land.
Oh, you already own my. Oh, who are you selling it to? Your investment group?
Yeah. No.
Back to the government? No. I'm going to keep guessing. I told you I was going to ask stupid questions.
No. I'm going to sell it to the neighbors.
Of course, the people next door. Why not? Who wouldn't want an extra 5 acres? Yes, of course.
There you go. So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, hey, here's your opportunity. Protect your privacy.
Right.
Protect your views. Know your neighbor. So oftentimes the neighbors will buy. Now, if they pass, I'll go to my buyer's list. The buyer's list passes, I'll go to a website you may have heard of. It's called Craigslist. It's the 15th most trafficked website in the United States.
Okay.
I'll go to one I know you've heard of called Meta.
Yep.
or Facebook buy-sell groups in the marketplace. And then I'll go to the lands, landmodo.com, landsofamerica.com, landandfarm.com, landflip.com, landhub.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell
Yeah.
raw land.
Yeah.
But the secret of selling it so quickly is in the pricing. So all I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment. And then I'll price it like a car payment. Let's say $197 a month and 9% interest for the next 84 months. So it's a one-time sale. I'm going to get my money out on the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. And then I'm getting $197 a month and 9% interest over the next 84 months. No renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, RESPA, and the SAFE Act, all this owners real estate legislation.
Raw land.
So it's a simple game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you create enough land notes where your passive income exceeds your fixed expenses, and then you're working because you want to, not because you have to?
Okay, so I got to summarize all this if I can break this down for you in the language that I just heard, if that's
Sure.
okay. All right, so I'm going to go out and find tax lien properties that may have like 5 acres in Arizona that's, up for a $200 tax lien that someone hasn't paid for in some amount of time. And I'm going to basically...
Well, you want to get it before it goes to tax lien.
Before it goes to tax lien, okay. And then I'm going to make an offer to them to basically come in and give the a fair market value price for that land or the tax lien, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Well, we're gonna take the lowest comparable sale, and divide by 4.
Divide by
right.
4.
So we want to have a 300% margin of safety.
Got it.
So we're buying at 25, 30 cents on the dollar.
So we're buying it with equity already in it, in essence.
Exactly. We're making our money on the buy.
Got it. So then I take that back out, and I'm going to find a buyer. First level, neighbors. Hey, neighbors, would you like this property? It's valued at around, let's say, $10,000, but for you, it's only $2,500 right now, and 48 payments of $197.
You got it. You got it.
It's like stupid simple. I don't know why I didn't think about that earlier. So in essence, then I basically can cash flow the land over. I get down payment on it initially, which will more than cover my cost of most likely buying a property away from the tax, and then of course I have a continuity stream of income over that 48 months. How often do people not pay their $197 on their property, as this hypothetical example goes?
Yeah. So we're going to look at about a 10% default rate in a normal market. So as the market gets worse, let's say we go into recession, maybe it's a 15, 20% default rate. If we're talking about the Great Recession of 2008, it was about a 50% default rate. Now, the way that we structure these is we don't do deeds of trusts. We use land contracts. So land contracts says that until you pay off your promissory note, the asset is not yours. So all that's happening is every time they make a monthly payment, their down payment, they're lowering our cost basis. So if they default, our cost basis goes lower. We do it again. We get a new down payment. We get more monthly payments. We extend out our return on investment.
For 10% of the time, you'll maybe even double the down payment, plus bringing in a secondary person who actually brings in more profit because the first person already paid down to 13 months on the loan. Okay, wow, that's a very fascinating model. How did you get started in that?
So in 2000, I was a miserable, micromanaged, 45-minute commute to work and back investment banker, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And it got so bad for me, Neil, that I wouldn't get the Sunday blues, anticipating Monday coming around. I'd get the Friday blues,
the Thursday, the Wednesday.
Right. Yeah. And so my firm hires this guy. He's telling me there's a side hustle. He's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar, and he's flipping them online. He's making 300% return on his investment. And I'm like, 300%? And I'm looking at companies all day long that are not making any money.
Yeah.
And so, your average company might be, a great company is 15% EBITDA margins. Average company is 10%. And I'm looking at companies all day long less than 10%. So we're from Missouri, the show me state. I don't believe him.
All right.
And I got $3,000, saved up for car repairs. I go to New Mexico with him. I do exactly what he tells me to do. I buy 10 half-acre parcels, the average price of $300 each. I flip those online. They all sell for an average price of $1,200 each. And it took about 18 months for the land investing income to exceed the investment banking income. And then I quit, and I've been doing it full-time
18 months, really?
since.
Wow. That's actually pretty impressive.
18 months. Yeah.
Good for you. So now at this point, how many deals are you turning over a year?
So we try to do a deal a day. I've done over 6,000 in my career.
Wow.
But the goal is to do about a deal a day.
About a deal a day. Okay. And this is going to sound like a dumb question, but it sounds really easy for you to say, well, there's a guy with 5 acres in Arizona. Like, how do you normally find those deals? Are they readily available? How do you track down
Yeah,
the deal opportunities?
right. I mean, let's face it. Nobody wakes up and thinks to themselves, boy, I'd like, some raw land today in Iowa,
Yeah.
unless you live in
Well, I
Iowa.
actually think about that because I have really.
Right. So maybe you do, but I mean, the average, think about somebody in New York.
Well, of course,
They're
yeah.
typically, yeah, they want the sunshine states. They
They
want,
want other places. They're moving a
uh,
lot right now. It's just laughing because my wife and I literally had this conversation this morning. Our neighbor's out. It's first cut of the season in June, and he's cutting out his property over there. And we've asked him before, how many of your acres would you be willing to sell us? And my wife asked me again this morning. She's like, would we ever be interested in that entire property, that acreage, house, and everything over there if he ever wanted to sell it? And I said, well, that's a good possibility of it. Yeah. We'd expand it
yeah,
out 160 acres or so.
yeah, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So basically, we want to focus on counties in the Southwest, California, a little bit in the Northwest,
Okay.
say Washington, Oregon, Florida, and then some parts in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So really, we want to go where other land investors are because we know there's a market there.
Yeah. Right.
So using, say, an e-commerce model, and I think to myself, boy, I love this mouse pad I've got for $20. And I think to myself, oh, wouldn't everybody like a mouse pad for $20? And you're like, well, no, you're pretty much the only person that likes that particular mouse pad based on the data.
Pink. It's a pink mouse.
Pink, right.
Yeah.
So,
Striker.
you're like, no, that's not where you want to go. So we
Right.
want to go where we know definitively there's a strong market.
Mm-hmm. Competition is not bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Drives price,
exactly.
drives value. Okay. So the real question then, and this is maybe a difficult one for you to answer, but what is the market like now compared to 28? And what do you see, if I can two-part that, in the next year as we're, 2023 and coming to the end of the year, probably by the time this broadcast is being released, if you open that crystal ball and kind of see where we are and where we're going, what would you say to the world about real estate right now?
Yeah. So what's interesting about our model is we don't use any debt. So we're paying cash for all these properties. As a result, interest rates can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And we're not, having an issue like, let's say, a multifamily investor might if they didn't buy down their rate. So we're making our money on the buy,
Yeah.
and it's in a very inefficient market. So from my perspective, as long as unemployment does not spike,
Mhm.
and even if it does, that's going to be our biggest risk,
Right.
because it's going to be in any market cycle. So it's going to be easy to buy and easy to sell.
Yep.
That's going to be our equilibrium, which we're kind of at right now.
Yes.
As the market heats up, it's harder to buy,
Mm.
easy to sell, which we kind of had from, let's say,
Yeah.
2014 to 2020. And then as the market starts to go into more of a recession, it's going to be easy to buy, but more difficult to sell, as people are going to be less likely to want to purchase.
Yeah. Does the fear of a little bit of the recession or potentiality of it, I know there's a lot of talk of it, and sometimes I think people want to talk themselves into things as much as the reality is there and the perceived reality versus actual reality. But are you concerned at all about the land situation? I don't mean to pick on your business. I'm just thinking through, like, there's always people coming like, well, I'm concerned about, e-commerce, or because Amazon's going to steal my products, or all this other stuff that I have to deal with. What are the kind of the common questions that people come to you and ask? Maybe that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
terms of the-
I think people are really mainly afraid of competition. How many people are going to be
Yeah.
buying land? How many people are going to be competing with me?
Yeah.
In the same way, how many e-commerce sellers are going to be in my niche? And to your point, competition is a good thing. It validates the market.
Yep.
But I think that's the biggest fear. I think a lot of people don't realize how big this market is
How
and
big
how-
America is.
and how big it is. I mean, there's billions of acres for sale. There's going to be a million
Right.
people in this niche.
Right.
You, me, a million people. We're all going to run out of money before we run out of deal flow.
Right.
And so we have a massive market. It's very boring. You're not going to go to HGTV or the DIY network and see flip this land. The before pictures raw land.
That
the
have
after
about
pictures
2
raw
episodes.
land. Yeah,
You've run out of
exactly.
episodes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, boring is, and success is boring, as they say, right? I mean, and there's ways you have to re-engineer opportunities, even for yourself. I know maybe I have to do it in e-com. That's the beauty of additional brand building and product development, and that is, if you start to get a little bored with growing one thing, you can start another thing inside the same niche and kind of play around with it. How does that play with you? I mean, you love what you're doing? It's obviously see yourself doing it for the next 10 years, ever retiring, or is this just something you feel like you'll do forever?
Yeah, I mean, I never want to retire. I'll die working and doing,
Love it.
land business. So for me, I'm an inch wide and a mile deep. And I think it's just getting, as you level up, it's like a video game, right? You want to just get to the next level in what you're doing and have fun with it. So as long as I'm having fun, I'll never retire.
So you mentioned it's debt free, which is cool because I know so many other models are, get a multiplex, hold it long time, get this and hold it long time, capitalize this debt, right? Which I appreciate not because, as my partner says, I'm allergic to debt to try to avoid and get out of as much as possible, unless very strategic in its usage, and certainly not for like televisions and vacations. But at the end of the day, what is someone looking at for that first property or two if they're going to cash into something and get started? What do they need roughly? What do you see? What's a good starting block?
So I start with $3,000. We have clients that start with $5,000. I think $5,000 is a really good starting place.
Okay.
We have other clients that start with $500. But I think if I could choose, I'd say $5,000 is a really good start.
Where does that give me a head start? Is it buying more land? Is it just the opportunities increase at 5,000 in terms of valuations? Why 5, I guess is the best way to say that.
I think 5 gives you enough runway to buy enough inexpensive pieces of land to validate the model.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
And then once it's been validated, then you can start really going to that next
That
level.
5 isn't going to go to just one property. It's going to go to multiple properties to start.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, how many out of 5 would you normally have somebody start with? 3, 2, 4?
Yeah, I would say, 3 to 5.
3 to 5 in that first. So about $1,000 roughly per acre of land. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the size plots?
Not necessarily an acre.
Well, I'm sorry, but per plot, whatever that looks
per plot. Yeah.
What does that end up being? Is it, you said 5 acres as an example. Is that kind of an average, or do they go higher? Are they like 30, 40, 50, 100 acres?
Well, not for $5,000. Well, you might be able to get a 40.
Well, it's 5,000 an acre where I live now.
Yeah.
It was 1,100 per an acre when I bought my property in 2012.
Yeah.
But I could sell it for just about $5,000 an acre right now.
Yeah. So, you can see the margins that we're dealing with.
Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. So is there any question I didn't ask you in that process that maybe I skipped over on accident?
I think a lot of people want to know, like, why teach this if it's so great?
Well, of course.
And
why? Yeah, that's the negative mindset kicking in. Why would you teach anybody to do this if you can't do it yourself?
Yeah. And so you get to a point in life where you have enough and you want to help other people.
Yeah.
And I think that for me personally, there's been nothing more gratifying than helping people solve not just their money problems, but also their time problems.
Mm-hmm.
Because once their passive income exceeds their fixed expenses, then they have the time to really explore their higher purpose, what they really want to do in life.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been very gratifying.
That's very cool. That's a purpose driven. I understand that. If I were going to do this myself and I wanted to go learn from you, where would I go? Is there a specific place, a training, a course, or somewhere that I can go, investigate more and learn how to do the process more detailed than we just talked about?
Yeah, I think a great place to go is thelandgeek.com.
Okay.
Thelandgeek.com. You could even start with Dirt Rich.
Yeah, grab a copy of that on Amazon.
On Amazon, or I think you can even get it on our website, thelandgeek.com /Dirt Rich, which might be even better. So I think just educating yourself on the model, see if it resonates with you is really a good place to start.
Well, here, let me do something for you. So if somebody buys that off of Amazon and is listening to this podcast, you can email me, neil@voltagedm.com, and I will get you a signed copy and reimburse you if you take a picture of that and post it on your podcast. So I'm going to reimburse at least the first, let's say, 5 people who buy it after listening to this podcast. I'm going to reimburse each of you. You just got to email me, neil@voltagedm.com with that. I'll reimburse you. I'll get Mark sign a copy. We'll get you out there, and for his benefit, we'll put it out there into the world for you. How about that?
Neil, that's so generous. That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great book. I checked out the summary of it. I need to get a copy of it and read up on it myself because I'm very interested. But let's say if I don't have, time and money are always important, right? If I got enough money, I got time. If I don't have enough time, I got enough money. Where would I go if I just wanted you to help me do it, or is that even an option?
Yeah, so it's not really an option unless you're an accredited investor.
Okay. Simple. That's a great answer. Yeah. I don't do it for everybody myself either, as we talked about. Well, man, this has been a
Right.
great chat. Guys, check it out. Go over to thelandgeek.com. Go on Amazon. Look up Dirt Rich. If you do, and you're listening to this and one of the first 5 people to email me, I'm going to reimburse you for the cost of the book. And we'll get that pic. You'll get a picture of the book. That's going to be a requirement that you bought the book. Send a picture to me, and I'll make sure Mark can get that and use it. And then, of course, we'll get you a great copy and a great start on land flipping. Mark, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this information with me, man.
Neil, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, folks, give Mark some love, like, comment, help us beat big tech at its game by sharing, liking. If you loved this, go leave me a review. Tell Mark how great he is because he did an amazing job today. And if you like what he's doing, go check him out. If you are interested in e-com and want to know how to build active to passive income in physical products and then take that capital and go do land flipping, go to voltagedm.com, where Mark and I will help you both in the different ways that you can make wealth without Wall Street. Guys, have a great day. We'll check you out later. If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.